So, my crap opinion on an awesome game became one of my most popular videos. Guess I'll make that follow-up and explain the colors. There are 7 colors in total. Red, blue, yellow, green, black, purple, and white. Red is all about raw damage, either from power boosts, piercing, or extra security checks. Blue is more about memory manipulation and likes to get rid of your Digivolution cards. Yellow is very defensive by either increasing their security card's power or by adding more cards to the security pile. They also enjoy lowering your card's power and occasionally deleting them by zeroing them out. Green is the Speed Demon deck, letting you search for Digivolutions and gaining advantage from both aggressive play and aggressive opponents. Black is also a defensive deck, but I would say it's a bit subpar to yellow. It relies more on using blockers and swarm strategies. Purple is a fun one. It gains advantage from your Digimon dying. It's this card game's version of a Suicide Squad. And last but not least, White. White currently has 3 cards in it so far. Omnimon, Millenniummon, and Diaboromon, each of which are huge boss monsters that you can build entire decks around. For example, Diaboromon kicks Black's swarm strategy into overdrive by spamming tokens of himself onto the board. And since someone asked, I shall tell. Here are my current deck profiles. So this is the deck profile of my yellow deck. As you can see, it's really just a modified version of the structure deck. Most of it's the same, aside from some tweaks here and there. Like I took out some copies of the vanilla Magnadramon, added in some others like Slash Angemon, this Magnadramon, this Seraphimon. I put a full set of 4 of the TK trainer card from the structure deck because he's really good for that extra defense on security cards. Kari and TK are both memory gain cards to give you more plays by giving you more resources. The option cards I chose are all there mainly for defensive purposes and just to gain advantage. I don't like to use high cost option cards because they tend to just, it's a single time use card, and I personally don't like having to spend that much memory on something that doesn't have a more permanent effect on the board. As you can see, I have a lot of single copies of things because that's what I got from the booster box, and it's what I have to work with, and it's just something I won't be able to fix until January. This is my current black-purple deck. As you can see, as I said, it's very defensive by using cards that have inherited traits for reboots. And then it's got, I think, the most blockers I have in any deck between Gardramon, Vilemon, Andromon. Is there another one in here? Oh, Gutsumon. So it's got a total of 2, 6, 8, 11. Yeah, it's got a total of 11 blockers in this deck, so it's as defensive as you can get. Chumon over here, he's a great counter to stop your opponent from gaining memory outside of specifically Tamer cards. And then for the higher end stuff, Millenniummon's down here. Beelzemon, I love Beelzemon. And he's really good to me because he can Digivolve straight from Impmon under certain conditions. which this deck does help to accelerate too. Very few option cards in comparison to the yellow deck, because it's more of a Monster Mash deck. I will say, you don't want to have a pure Monster Mash deck in this game. I feel like option cards, well, the name suggests they are optional, they're a bit more necessary than they lead on. And then I've got 4 copies of Ty and 1 copy of Matt. It runs. It's definitely not my best deck, and I can see ways to improve it that I just don't have the cards for yet. So when this deck gets updated in the future, I will show you a new deck profile. So this is my red-blue Omnimon deck. As you can see, it's also got the most diverse card pool. And that was once again due to the fact that I got what I got from the booster box. So as you can see, like 1 copy of Digimon, 1 copy of some Greymons, Leopardmon, Omnimon, and Joe are all examples of 1 copy. The thing about the 1 copy of Grizzlymon is that I noticed that when I was building this deck, I wanted more along the lines of powerhouse champions. And in doing that, I did not have room to put in champion level blockers. So I couldn't fit in things like Cordramon and Grizzlymon except for that 1 copy. So my lifesaver was actually this rookie level Monmon, because you can just play it and you don't have to worry about it, and it's not some super high cost thing. Obviously it's not gonna kill anything, but it'll save your life pool. And then for option cards, Great Tornado, Starlight Explosion. Vulcan's Hammer in any blue deck, I would say, is a must. You're going to want to run 4 copies of Vulcan's Hammer, because whether it's in your security pile or whether it's in your hand, it's free memory. For Tamers, Ty for power, Matt for memory, and then Joe is also pretty darn good for memory if you can delete your opponent's Digivolution cards. And then War Greymon from the structure deck, Metal Garurumon from the structure deck. I wish I had more copies of other things so I could get rid of this Volcanidramon. Because yes, it's good, but if you want its on-play effect to go off, you have to be able to pay that full 11 memory cost, and sometimes it's just not worth it. So, this deck right here was not mentioned in the previous video, and that was because I hadn't made it yet. This deck was actually made a couple of days ago in a full-blown Jimmy Neutron Brain Blast moment when I saw this card right here, Taiga, where he says he can give any Tyrannomon piercing. And I was initially only looking at green Tyrannomons, and I was just like, I don't have enough to really bother running him. But then I thought about it for a bit, and then I went, wait, red also has Tyrannomons, so this was actually a frenzied, I had a Brain Blast must build deck thing that just happened. And I'm really glad with the way it came out, because it's actually a fairly good fast-paced deck between the green and the red, and then it has the strategy I like to call "you can't kill me if all of your cards are dead." But then it doesn't suffer from the fact that by attacking your opponent's cards, you don't do damage to them because it gives cards piercing. So you still do damage to your opponent while attacking their cards. And this was like an awakening for me, and in a frenzy I built this deck, and it works surprisingly well. I think you would also notice that none of my option cards are red, and that was just because I didn't like any of the red option cards for this deck's playstyle. So it just left me with the green option cards, which are all about resting your opponent's cards so that you can either attack their cards or they can't block with them. And I'm really happy that the idea for this deck just popped into my head.